Wish you all a blessed Wednesday. So, as we journey through the Passion Week, today for our reflection and meditation, I have chosen another event around the Passion Week or around the last days of Jesus' earthly life, another important incident that is recorded in the Bible. And today we are going to focus on Luke chapter 22, verses 33 and 34. The context is during the last few hours that Jesus spent with his disciples at a particular point, Jesus tells Peter that Peter will fall into the trap of Satan. And at this time, Peter responds to what Jesus says. So, verse 33, but he said to him, that is Peter, Lord, I am ready to go with you, both to prison and to death. What we see here is Peter very confidently tells Jesus, I will never disown you. I will never betray you, or I will never deny you. And rather he makes a very confident statement and he says, I will not only do that, but I'm ready, I'm fully prepared to follow you and be with you and go to prison or even to death if it so requires. Now, this is a very bold statement that Peter made. But in response to Peter's declaration, what he declared, Jesus says in verse 34, then he said, I tell you, Peter, the rooster shall not crow this day before you will deny 3 times that you know me. So Jesus turns to Peter and Jesus says, Peter, let me tell you, today you will deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And later on in this chapter we find that it actually did happen. In 3 significant moments, when Peter was questioned by 3 different people, when they asked, aren't you a follower of Jesus? Or aren't you another person who was hanging out with Jesus? All 3 times Peter said, I don't even know him. That is denying Jesus. That is, point blank saying, I never knew him. And then the Bible states that the rooster does crow, and then Peter is filled with guilt and sorrow. Now we can so easily read these words and point our fingers at Peter and say that he was such a close friend, but at a time when he really had to be there for Jesus, that was the time that he chose to deny him or say that I don't know him. It's very easy for us to point our fingers at Peter. But for our reflection and meditation, I want to, look at this text in a more deeper way and ask ourselves, is it only Peter that denied Jesus? Ever since, haven't there been hundreds and thousands of Christians who have denied Jesus? What about you and me? Haven't there been instances where we have denied Jesus? But what does it mean to deny Jesus? Very often we think to deny Jesus is when we are at the gunpoint and when someone asks, do you follow Christ? And that's the time if we say no, that we deny Jesus. But in our walk of life, in our day-to-day choices, our decisions, our thoughts, our actions, there are many ways where we either say it or we behave or conduct in such a way, or even in our thoughts, we either speak, we think, or we act as if we don't know Jesus. There are 100 of ways in which we can deny Jesus, but let me share a few things so that we can meditate on it and allow the Lord to take us further. Firstly, when we fail to live the Christian life that is demanded by the Bible, we are denying Jesus. When we don't live the life that God expects us to live. Secondly, when we compromise our faith and follow the pattern of the world. How many times we follow the pattern of the world and compromise our faith. our decisions, our choices, our thoughts, our actions. How many times we become a part of the worldly pattern, and then what we do is we deny Jesus. We are saying in a rounded way that I don't have any connection with Jesus. What about the times when we rule our lives? When we become the master and the Lord of our lives and take our own decisions and deny the Lordship of Jesus? Think about it. Aren't we denying Jesus? Sometimes when we have to stand for the truth of the gospel, sometimes we may be silent. We may not talk about it. We may not even share the gospel with someone. The gospel truth that we know, that Jesus is the Savior of the world. When we don't stand for it, aren't we denying Jesus? And when we fail to fully identify ourselves with Christ and say no to many temptations, many choices, decisions, desires that are not suitable or that are not part of a godly character, what we do is we actually deny Jesus. In a rounded way, we are telling those around us, I do not have any relationship or connection with Jesus. Either we will do it or we will allow the world to look at us and say, this can't be a person who is following Jesus. Think about 100 other ways where we deny Jesus. When we fail to love people unconditionally, when we fail to forgive people, when we fail to help and support people, when we fail to live that Christian life basically, that's when we deny Jesus. So as we meditate on the cross and go through this Passion Week, humbling ourselves before God, let's ask ourselves, what are the ways I have denied Jesus? What are the ways that I have to really change in my way, in my lifestyle, my conduct, my behavior, my thought process, my actions, that I can stand up for Christ? And more than speaking out, even in my actions, that I will tell the world very boldly, I am a follower of Christ. So may God bless us as we meditate on this day. Peter, talking about him later on, we find that he really did keep his word. He said, I am ready to go with you to prison and even to death. And Peter, the disciple of Jesus, did go to prison because of his faith. He also faced a martyr's death because he publicly proclaimed the gospel truth and he never denied thereafter. So may this challenge us today, that we may offer ourselves and say, Jesus, help me not to deny you, but to stand up for the truth that I know, and stand up and say that I am Christian, whatever it might cost me. God bless you.